Market futures up this morning because of gains in Europe and stayed in the green after some new personal income and spending data came out this Monday morning. I want to bring in Jeff Mackey from Yahoo Finance to break down those numbers for us and also get a look at the rest of the business headlines for this Monday. Jeff, did you have a good weekend?
I had a real good weekend. How about you?
I had a fantastic weekend as well, and so we'll begin on a positive note, hopefully for this Monday morning. I want to start with personal income numbers for the month of March. What did they show us?
Well, we saw a little weakness in payrolls, but a little better than expected in terms of what we'd expect the consumers to be doing. Now, the payrolls number, that's slowing, and so that gives me pause a little bit in terms of companies going out there and doing some hiring. It foots with a little bit of weak data we've seen from employment data as a whole. GDP was disappointing last week, so the economy might be not so much coming in for a hard landing, but just sort of pausing a little bit at a bad time of the year.
All right, well, I want to get that comment in connection with this as well, because consumer growth in consumer spending was shown at 0.2%. More was expected. Analysts, in fact, were expecting essentially for it to remain flat. So, I mean, what does that mean? I mean, are people not affected by that payroll tax hike?
You know, it's from what we're hearing from the retailers and some of the other groups, they are affected, but on the margins, maybe not as we thought before. Now, it's important to remember these data points are kind of just one-off data from a huge survey pool. So there's a little bit of a margin to err there. I'm not sure the consumers, I'm a big fan of the consumer, but I'm not so sure they're going to be able to keep up that spending pace in the face of a little bit of uncertainty. I never, ever make it a rule to never, ever bet against the U.S. consumer, but in this case, they're doing kind of what they should do, which is pulling in their horns a little bit.
All right. Pharmaceutical news this morning. Merck and Pfizer joining forces to come up with a new drug to treat type 2 diabetes. It seems a little unusual for this kind of camaraderie.
Cats and dogs in love, all kinds of strangeness happening out there. Who knows? Hatfields, McCoy's coming out with their own drug. We've got some expertise from Merck on type 2 diabetic oral type of medication, which is great. Pfizer's developed a super drug, and so they're going to hold hands and go out together. It's not as unprecedented as it sounds. These companies have enormous expenses associated with developing the drugs, so it makes sense to do a partnership in some of these cases. It doesn't mean the two companies are going to combine and sing Kumbaya together and share a company meeting, but it is a smart way to go about distributing these drugs, and it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. It'd be nice if we can get a foothold on type 2 diabetic treatment.
That absolutely goes without saying. Absolutely. All right, well, and later this week, both those companies are going to be coming out with their earnings. I mean, pharmaceuticals, I mean, in general, still a safe bet is what they used to be.
You know, that's the rap they get, but that's not really the case. They move along with the market. Almost, the correlation is very high. And so what you used to see out of these companies was the dividend was such that they were the original pay-you-to-wait, widow and orphan type of stocks. That's not so much the case anymore. You can get a lot of different yields at around 3.5%, where Merck is. Apple is around the same way. And so these aren't so much safe haven companies as they just are big companies that reflect the indexes as a whole.
Although Apple been a little unstable as of recently as well.
Well, and Apple is, those companies demonstrate the ineffectiveness of those dividends to trump fundamentals. Now, the idea is that a dividend gives you a nice cushion under the stock.
Right.
As you mentioned, Apple, not so much the case for them. And I would argue that these dividends, these buybacks, never, ever trump the fundamentals. And so if you're out there shopping for stocks thinking that a 3% yield is really going to be enough to offset the risk, you got to update those finance books.
I want to get your thoughts on Chrysler, because they came out with their Q1 numbers this morning. What was the big standout?
Well, the standout was that their earnings were down so much from a year before. But if you go under the headline, you see that Chrysler is revamping, revising, and re-releasing a lot of different models. And so what they've done is they pulled back some sales in the now because they've got a big second half of the year in terms of some of their old models coming out. And so we didn't expect great earnings from them in terms of execution. Given the number of updates they have coming down the pike, well, this is pretty good. It wasn't bad. Chrysler's been making money for a while now, and that's quite a turn from where we saw them 4 or 5 years ago. So this is kind of steady as she goes, and we've heard this news before. Europe, bad. Go figure. The U.S. recovering slightly. So Chrysler just confirmed that they're better off than they were 5 years ago, but not exactly hitting on all cylinders, if you will.
Absolutely. We'll take the pun on a Monday morning. I mean, obviously things are cutthroat in Detroit. What's Chrysler got to do to stay competitive with Ford and GM?
They just got to stay where they are, which is in the distant rear view mirror. Chrysler's not going to catch up to those guys, and nor should they really try. They're kind of a plug and chug. It's no longer the big three so much. It's kind of GM, which is a government-related company, whatever Chrysler's doing, and Ford right there in the middle. It depends on how these brands go for Chrysler in the back half of the year, but I wouldn't expect anything too stunning from what they're doing.
All right. From cars to clothing, along with some other things as well. I know you like to talk about JCPenney because it is a fascinating company that has gone through so many transformations in the past 5 years. The retailer just got a $1.75 billion loan from Goldman Sachs.
Right.
Last week, billionaire investor George Soros, he bought a sizable stake in the company, but this is all coming after the CEO was kicked out and they brought back their old one. Seems as if everyone is trying to root for JCPenney's, but I mean, can the company get back on its feet?
Well, the company, whether or not they get back on their feet is one thing, but what we learned with this loan deal, which, by the way, they got on just tremendous terms. It's a triumph of Hope and Goldman Sachs, who got the debt underwriting done. But that gives them a lifeline. And so the question 6 months ago, 3 months ago, too, last week, was whether or not JCPenney could make it to the Christmas selling season. Now they can. And so the hedge funds were rather presciently getting long this company last week ahead of the debt deal. They are kind of loading up here. A lot of folks bearish on JCP. A lot of people short it. A big part of that short thesis was that the company was going to go bye-bye, and they may do that, but not for a few years. And that's why you see the stock so very strong, both last week and this morning.
All right, one last look at the big war before we let you go. The Dow is trading up about 16 points at 14,729. Not too bad for a start for the Monday. Jeff Mackey from Yahoo Finance. Sir, have a great Monday.
Hey, you too, my friend.